All right, SEC Media Days starting about a week prior to that, July 10th, down in Hoover, as the SEC once again gets the media frenzy started for college football and the unofficial kickoff to the season. Calvin Ridley, Bradley Bozeman, Minkah Fitzpatrick seem to be a pretty good trio to take with Nick Saban to represent the football team and also the university, Stephen.
Very good trio. You know, he probably could have threw in Sean Deion Hamilton. Probably could have threw in maybe a Ronnie Harrison in there. But three he's chosen, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Calvin Ridley, Bradley Bozeman, a strong three. You look at Bradley Bozeman, he's coming back for his redshirt senior year, his second full year starting at center. Did a great job last season protecting the likes of Jalen Hurts at quarterback and also opening up the run game for Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris, Josh Jacobs, and also the same Jalen Hurts, who had some pretty good rushing yards last year, 954 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns. So good to have Bradley Bozeman back. Calvin Ridley, just a game-changing receiver. I understand last year probably didn't have the numbers he wanted because he had to adjust his game to a true freshman quarterback, but still some good numbers. 72 catches, 769 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. That's nothing to sneeze at by any no means. But when you look at Calvin Ridley, he's looked at the Julio Joneses and the Amari Coopers before him. So he knows how big this junior season is after watching those two guys put up monster numbers and then go on to being first-round picks in the NFL draft. Calvin Ridley wanting that same fate for him. So he's anticipating a good junior year. And then Minkah Fitzpatrick, Mr. Diversity, Mr. Versatility, can play corner, can play safety, can play star, can probably sell hot dogs and Coca-Cola if you want him to sell that in the stands. And him being there representing the defensive side of the football, somebody that's going to get that defense lined up and ready to play this year. Three very good guys in Bozeman, Ridley, and Minkah Fitzpatrick to walk hand in hand or right beside Nick Saban as they approach the midpoint of media days that Wednesday of next week.
Yeah, there's a certain criteria that fits the selection of student athletes for these media days. The coach obviously needs to bring some of the better players on the team. You're not going to grab your fifth-string tight end to attend media days, regardless of how outstanding he is otherwise. But within the group of top players and starters, you typically go for somebody who's well-spoken, who's got a clean record, who has represented the university well, who's a fine student athlete. Also want to rep the offense and the defense. And I think another trend that I've seen, and I've covered these things back to the 1995 SEC Media Days would have been my first, Stephen. I don't want to ask how old you were at that point, but 1995 SEC Media Days. And I believe that the coaches love to get the offensive linemen involved. The offensive linemen don't get enough love, recognition, and they're typically some of the smarter athletes on the team, some of the more well-spoken, more studious, and there's great respect for those guys in the locker room. And the coaches typically, if they can, will grab an offensive lineman and bring one of those guys to the media days for that particular conference.
They're also the most technically sound guys, Mark. These are the ones that give you the information on how a play is going to be ran and why is that play going to be ran. But also, low-key, they're the ones that give the best stories. Some of the best people I've interviewed at Alabama have been offensive linemen, whether it was Barrett Jones or Chance Warmack, or even, last year with Jonah Williams and Bradley Bozeman himself. They give some of the best stories on funny moments that go on in the program. If somebody did something funny, if somebody did something that was worthwhile mentioning, they're going to be the ones to talk about it and name it to go along with studying the game tape and the motions of how defenses play you and how to make sure the quarterback is in pocket, the running game's in full surface. They are the most technically sound guys on the team, but in some spurts, they can be the funniest guys on the team.
Well, Stephen, I'll be back here at the flagship checking out the SEC Media Days and trying to get as many feeds in as possible and try to soak things up and obviously provide the content that I do. But I expect to see you make an appearance here and there on the SEC Network as you've had in a previous year. So do you come prepared with certain questions with some story angles, or do you just kind of let it flow and see what moves you during the some of these news conferences in terms of forming your question strategy?
It's a little bit of both. I keep a notebook prepared with some questions that not many people may be prone to asking. And then sometimes from inside the moment of being in the room, and there's a couple of questions that have been asked, and something may hit me to being like, well, let me ask this or rephrase it this way to see if I can get a better reaction, or more so of a raw emotional reaction that probably a couple of other reporters did not get. So it's a mixture of both, but the main thing is being able to ask a question that's thought-provoking. You get that answer and have a chance to see that camera hit your face and you appear on TV for the family.
He is a true pro. He can roll with the punches, but comes prepared, and that's certainly a key to a number of vocations in life, but the one that we've taken up, that's certainly key. You got to come prepared, do your homework, be ready, have a plan, but be ready to deviate off the plan and go with whatever stands out as a strong narrative or storyline. Well played, definitely right there. Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama, joins me every Wednesday night. We talk Alabama football. You can catch Stephen at, of course, Touchdown Alabama, and also check out his new show starting and premiering on July 17th, Fox 97.9. It's called The Way It Is. You can catch it right there out of Shoals, Alabama.